The Windows UI library, or short WinUI, is the native user interface framework of Windows 10 and Windows 11. It is also the latest and most modern UI framework that you can use to build Windows desktop applications with either C# or C++. WinUI ships as part of the so-called Windows App Software Development Kit. The Windows App SDK provides project templates to create WinUI projects in Visual Studio. It provides also NuGet packages that contain the Windows UI library and also other libraries to access Windows functionality. The idea is that you can reference the NuGet packages of the Windows App SDK from any desktop project, like WinUI, WPF or WinForms, and then you get the latest functionality. The fact that WinUI itself is distributed as a NuGet package means that WinUI is decoupled from Windows. This allows fast innovation, and it means that you can use the latest WinUI features in your application without having to use the latest version of Windows. WinUI is also open source. You can find the source code on github.com/microsoft-ui-saml. I recommend that you take a look at the issues in this GitHub repository. In the issues, you find announcements for WinUI community calls. These are monthly livestream events that you can join to connect with the WinUI team at Microsoft and with other WinUI developers. Now, for you as a software developer, WinUI has several powerful features to develop desktop applications for Windows. First of all, there is the Extensible Application Markup Language, or short SAML. SAML is an XML-based language that is used in WinUI to create user interfaces. Usually, you define a user interface in SAML and you implement the logic in C#. This leads to a clean separation between user interface and user interface logic, which makes your application more maintainable. WinUI has also a powerful data binding engine that allows you to bind visual elements in your user interface to objects that contain the data for your user interface. Data binding is the feature that enables the so-called Model View ViewModel pattern, or short MVVM. This is a popular pattern for SAML applications like WinUI or WPF that leads to a very clean separation between user interface and user interface logic. That separation allows you to create more maintainable and more testable applications. The next powerful feature of WinUI is layout. You can use layout panels like Grid and Stack Panel to arrange your elements in the user interface. You can also nest these layout panels as deep as you want, and this allows you to implement complex screen layouts. WinUI has also the concept of styles and templates. They allow you to create a custom but consistent look for the UI elements in your application, like for example for buttons and text boxes. You can find all these features and even more in the official documentation from Microsoft. I recommend that you browse and read a bit through the official docs, because WinUI has even more features than these that you see here on this slide. But I think that the features that you see here are actually the features that you definitely need to know to be able to build and maintain WinUI applications. After you have watched this course, you will know about all these features and you will know how to use them to work successfully on your own WinUI projects. Let me show you now what you will learn in this course. To watch this course, no prior WinUI knowledge is required. You should be familiar with the basics of .NET and C#, but you don't have to know anything about WinUI. The intention of this course is that you are able to create and maintain WinUI applications. To do this, you need to know how different WinUI features work, like SAML, layout, data binding, the MVVM pattern, SAML resources, and styles and templates. To learn all of this, you will work in this course together with me for the Wired Brain Coffee Company. This is a fictitious company that has coffee shops around the world, and they are building a WinUI application to manage their customers. Let's switch to my desktop and let's have a look at the application. So, this is the customer's application and how it will look like at the end of this course. You can see on the left side a list of customers, and on the right side you see the details of the selected customer. So, you can browse here through the customers. You can also add and delete customers, and with this button here, you can move the navigation to the right side of the window. Let's move it back to the left side. With this button here, you can also toggle between a light and a dark theme. So, this is the application. It is not super complex, but it contains everything that you need to know to create and maintain more complex WinUI applications. Now let me show you the course structure. This course has several modules, and you are currently watching the first module here. The modules build on each other, so I recommend you to watch one module after the other. In the next module, you will learn how to instantiate objects in SAML. Then you will learn how to build the user interface of the customer's application with the layout panels of WinUI. After that, I will teach you how to organize your code with user controls, and then you will learn how to apply data binding and the model view model pattern to implement the logic for your application. Next, I will show you how to execute code with commands and how to create reusable resources in SAML. Then you will learn how to define a look for your data with data templates and how to set up and use dependency injection. Next, you will learn how to style your application, and I will show you how to use a control template to change the look of a WinUI control. Finally, I will show you how to use the tools in Visual Studio to debug your WinUI application. Note that you can download exercise files for this course from the course homepage on pluralsight.com. The exercise files contain the code before and after every module. This means, if you want, you can code along in every module. I recommend that you do this because that way you will get the most out of this course. But if you want, you can also just lean back and watch. Now, in this module, let's create your first WinUI application. To do this, I will show you in the next clip how to set up your environment. To work with the code of this course, you need to install Visual Studio 2022. You can download it from visualstudio.com. In this course, I use the free Community Edition of Visual Studio. Of course, you can also use the Professional Edition or even the Enterprise Edition. When you install Visual Studio, you need to select the required workloads for WinUI development in the Visual Studio installer. You need to select the workload .NET Desktop Development. There you need to ensure that you select the Windows App SDK C# templates. These are the project templates that you need to create WinUI projects with .NET and C#. Beside the .NET Desktop Development workload, you also need to install the workload Universal Windows Platform Development. When you have installed these workloads, you have everything that you need to build WinUI applications. Let me show you now in this demonstration how you can check your existing installation of Visual Studio, and let me also show you where you find the installation instructions in the Microsoft documentation. Let's switch to my desktop. I assume that you have downloaded Visual Studio already from visualstudio.com and that you have installed it on your machine. So now let's check the installation. Let's go to the taskbar and let's search here for Visual. This brings up the Visual Studio installer. Let's start this application. As you can see, I have installed Visual Studio Community 2022 and I have here version 17.1. Now let's click here on the Modify button to check the installation. When I scroll down here, you can see the two workloads .NET Desktop Development and Universal Windows Platform Development. These two are required to create WinUI applications with .NET and C#. So ensure that you have both selected. On the right side, you find installation details for the selected workloads. When you expand here the .NET Desktop Development workload, and when you scroll down, you can see here the Windows App SDK C# templates. You need to ensure that these are selected, else you won't have the project templates for WinUI projects. If something is missing, you can check it and you can modify here your existing Visual Studio installation. Now let's close the Visual Studio installer, so I have everything on my machine. Let me now also show you where you can find installation instructions in the Microsoft documentation. So let's bring up a browser. As you can see, I'm here on docs.microsoft.com. When you scroll down in this page, you can see here the product directory and there is a section called Windows. Let's click on Windows, and in this section you'll find here another section for application developers. Let's navigate to this one. When you are here, you'll find here different sections, for example, what is the Windows App SDK, and a quick start to create your first WinUI 3 project. I click on this quick start and now you are here in the documentation Windows Apps Desktop. You can use the navigation here on the left side where you find links to different articles. Here is an article that is called Install Tools for the Windows App SDK. Let's click on this one. In this article you find installation instructions. First, you need to install Visual Studio. As you can see, 2022 is recommended, but you could also use 2019. Then you find here the required workloads. Note that here is also a workload for desktop development with C++. You don't need this one if you want to build WinUI applications with .NET and C#. But if you want to create WinUI applications with C++, you need this workload in addition. Now when I scroll down further, you find here instructions to get the Visual Studio project and item templates. As you can see, for Visual Studio 2022 version 17.1 or later, you don't have to do anything in addition. For older versions of Visual Studio, you find here instructions how to install the project templates. As I have here 17.1 and as all the required workloads and the Windows App SDK C# templates are installed, we can create a new WinUI project in the next clip. To work with the code of this course, you need to install Visual Studio 2022. You can download it from visualstudio.com. In this course, I use the free Community Edition of Visual Studio. Of course, you can also use the Professional Edition or even the Enterprise Edition. When you install Visual Studio, you need to select the required workloads for WinUI development in the Visual Studio installer. You need to select the workload .NET Desktop Development. There you need to ensure that you select the Windows App SDK C# templates. These are the project templates that you need to create WinUI projects with .NET and C#. Beside the .NET Desktop Development workload, you also need to install the workload Universal Windows Platform Development. When you have installed these workloads, you have everything that you need to build WinUI applications. Let me show you now in this demonstration how you can check your existing installation of Visual Studio, and let me also show you where you find the installation instructions in the Microsoft documentation. Let's switch to my desktop.